just after sundown, when all my work was over and I was on my way to my berth, it occurred to me that I should like an apple. That's it's from Robert Louis Stevenson's Treasure Island, and for Book Week Scotland we're gonna make now a dessert based on apples and based on the book itself. We're gonna make basically a little scene, okay? So we're gonna start off by making some bones. We need bones. Any good pirate story needs bones. So, what do you need for bones? White chocolate, metal bowl, small amount of warm water, melt it slowly. Next component we're gonna get on, because it needs to be chilled right down before we serve it, is a whipped ganache. So, I'm gonna get just a little bit of cream onto boil there, just enough to melt the chocolate. And then I've got some dark chocolate, just break it into squares like that. And then I'm gonna put it in this jug so that I can melt it in there. So now I'm gonna pour my cream over the chocolate while it's still really hot. Get in there with my blender. Just before it starts getting solid, I'm going to put a load of raw cream in there too. And that's just blended till it's all nicely emulsified. I'm just going to put this ganache here, dark chocolate ganache, into the fridge, let it chill right down. So I'm going to make a crumble, and it's really, really simple. Basically what I'm going to put in, 3 parts of plain flour, 2 parts of butter, 1 part of sugar, just by weight. So 300 flour, 200 butter, 100 sugar. Really easy, no need to overcomplicate things. You could just use your fingers, just like rub it in, but just for speed we'll just use the mechanical option. While this is mixing, I'm just going to put a tiny little end of a teaspoon of some cinnamon, but any like little bit of clove or some nice winter spice would be lovely. So that's straight in there. Not too worried about it being perfect. Just want to get it in the oven. So here I've got some baking paper, just cut in a rough triangle. So on the flat side, it's going to become a point. Like that. Yeah? So I'm gonna grab my melted white chocolate and we're gonna put it in this little homemade piping bag, and then we're gonna pipe some bones. This is a great technique as well if you want to write with chocolate. This is just the right size of piping bag. So I'm just gonna cut the end off of here, cut a very, very small little hole, and then we're just gonna use that to make some nice little bone shapes. I'm piping onto fancy professional greaseproof, but you can just use any old greaseproof parchment. Okay, that's cool, that's done. I'm just gonna put them in the fridge, let them cool down. So I've just gotten some ingredients together to make a really nice classic custard. I'm gonna use whole bean vanilla, which will go lovely with the apples and with the chocolate and with the rum. I'm going to use just like a third of the bean there. I'm going to split it down the middle, pour the milk into my pan, 500 ml of milk, and I'm just going to scrape out the inside of this vanilla pod here. And put the rest of it in there too. Now, I'm just going to bring that to a simmer. So there's 500 ml of milk. And for that, I'm going to use minimum 6 egg yolks. You could use a lot more, quite happily. And I'm just going to get my eggs into this box. And this is a much faster way of splitting up a bunch of eggs at the same time. Add 80 grams of caster sugar to your 6 egg yolks. And then whisk. And I'm just going to whisk that until it starts going really nice and light yellow, by which point hopefully my milk will be ready to go in there. So we've got our white chocolate bones in the fridge, we've got our whipped ganache in the fridge, we've got our crumble in the oven, and we've got our milk who's just come up to the boil now. So I'm going to pour it over this, whisking very, very fast there. All right, and then people hate me for doing it like this because it's really cowboy, but it works. Let's So you need a good thermometer to make custard like this, because you're going to take it to 82 degrees, and that is like not 83, not 81, but 82. And then to stop it overcooking, I've got a sieve here, so I can put it immediately through a sieve, because if I keep cooking it, it's going to turn into like it's going to turn into scrambled eggs. So there we have some nice creme anglaise, some custard. I'm just going to start processing these apples, and the reason I've chosen apples is because in the book the lead protagonist is hiding in a barrel of apples when he hears Long John Silver talking about his plans to find some treasure. So I'm going to make some little barrels out of apples. So I'm halving, quartering, peeling, coring. And then just to make them look nice, I'm just taking off the edge, the sharp edge, there. Basically so they look a bit more like barrels. It's all metaphor, right? I'm just gonna make caramel now to cook my apple in. Just gonna start off with a little bit of butter. Just enough sugar to coat the base of the pan is what you need. If you've got a big pan, you're gonna need more. If you've got a small pan, you're gonna need less. Because the point is that the apples just need to be sitting in a layer of sugar. And then you need enough water just to kind of wetten it. Not a lot of water, just to wetten it. So I've got my my crumble out here now, and I'm just gonna use a spoon to like chop it up. And this is really I want it to look like sand. It's like my treasure island sand. So my caramel's just come up. It's a nice golden color, not too dark, not too light, just smelling nice, no smell of burn. Nice even color. I'm just gonna get my apples in there. Now for the first little while I've gotta kind of move them, get them coated. And then maybe turn my heat down a little bit. Just turn the heat down a little bit, and that means that some water can come out of the apples, and so dilute the caramel and stop it going any further. Yo ho ho and a bottle of rum, drink and the devil are done with the rest. Nice bit of spiced rum in our apples. So this is my ganache chilled down from our whipped ganache. I'm just gonna whip it up now. So we're gonna start off with some of our whipped ganache, and I'm gonna spray this with gold, mostly just for fun, but I want it to resemble the riches, the treasure underneath. Then I'm gonna come with my crumble, my sand, my desert island. I've got my barrels, apple barrels. Arrgh. Me hearties. This is very hearty. And white chocolate bones. And we'll just get some of our nice custard into. Then you can just pour it over. So there we have it. Apple barrels floating in a sea of custard as they approach a desert island with hidden rich golden dark treasures and some bones to show the way.